It's cold and it's rainy outside. So, really, Evergrey music? Yeah, it's kind of going to have to be. Why? Because Evergrey just had a new release that came out this past Tuesday here in 2011 entitled The Glorious Collision. And, well, sometimes, no matter what the weather is outside, the weather's got to be somewhat in tune with the music. Now, Glorious Collision is the latest in a long line of Evergrey albums that they have been putting out ever since their inception back in 1998, and of course it was original albums such as In Search of Truth and The Dark Discovery that wowed fans originally to this band's unique brand of dark, progressive power metal that really has influenced a lot of people throughout the years to the point where now finally they're starting to get their just due. And that's something that really has been a long time coming for this particular group. Now the last couple of records, one being Torn, they sort of, I don't want to say slacked off so much, as it just seemed like they weren't nearly as good as perhaps a couple of the albums prior to this. And The Glorious Collision, this really is an album that sort of is able to improve upon some things a little bit. However, the first real change that I have to mention is the fact that they replaced both their guitarist and their bassist. So these two important lineup shifts meant that, well, Evergrey was going to get a little bit of a makeover. But you really can't tell all that much in the music. This definitely is still reminiscent of a true Evergrey album. It's an album that spans 13 tracks and is just a little bit over an hour long. And this is an hour that actually goes by fairly quickly. So this is not something where it's going to seem terribly overbearing for a listener who may be just trying to get into Evergrey for the very first time. However, I still would also say that unlike a lot of the other records from the past, and I'd like to really go back a lot to In Search of Truth and the like, because those are albums that you listen to them from front to back. They seem to have the perfect pacing. They seem to have just the perfect length to them where a listener can really get a just experience of what the band is all about and be very, very satisfied, not feel like they're kind of being dogged down with information and being dogged down with the music to the point where it's literally being beaten senseless into them. And the unique brand that they were able to inspire on this album is that there's a little bit of a ferocity here that may have been a little bit more absent on some previous works. However, there's definitely enough of the lighter moments. And the mix between the two is perhaps the one thing that has always made Evergrey a very different band. Thomas Engeland's vocals have always been a very big positive for this particular group, considering he's able to use and employ a very raspy kind of low vocal, but at the same time also soar up to some very impressive notes in a higher mid-range, and really just do a very good job in emanating and emoting the particular feeling that the song is supposed to really progress. And this is definitely haunting progressive music as well, and that's the reason why you kind of see that dark adverb kind of, or adjective should I say, slapped before it. And so this is one of those records where I think that for the most part, a lot of Evergrey fans are going to be very satisfied. Mainly because they're able to keep the tempo varied just enough that it's going to be an album where a listener is going to get a pretty nice, diverse palette of what this band is able to accomplish and what they do so on a fairly regular basis. But it's also an album that may be just a little too long, but I might be splitting hairs on that. Overall, I have to give this album a 7.75 out of 10, which is a score that I find to be relatively fair. This is an album that shines in kind of spurty little elements, and this is also an album that really doesn't have any real presence of filler. It's just that the stuff that's there is pretty average. There's a couple of tracks in the middle of this particular record, and I know that on the Devil Driver review, I kind of used the term spurty. Well, this is definitely one that was spurty. There's a 3-track moment in the midst of the album. I believe it's tracks number 6, 7, and 8 that conclude with the Phantom Letters. And this is really just a very, very strong juxtaposition of what this band is able to accomplish. How they're able to take a song and really rock out very, very hard, extend it into the next track where it becomes extremely heavy, very metal, and then they're able to kind of die it down a little bit, really let it linger a little bit, build up that atmosphere, only to crush you with a finale. If this was like a 3-part triptych, then it would be all the more dynamic that I'm able to explain to you like this, but they're 3 individual songs. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to misinform you guys in that particular format. This is just a 3-song 3 songs on this particular record that I found to be quite the embodiment of what this band has been able to accomplish now throughout 13 years and spanning multiple albums. We're talking 7 or 8 at this particular point. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The new Evergrey album, kind of in a nutshell. And let me tell you, this is definitely one that's worth the pickup. Glorious Collision just came out this past Tuesday. It should be available at all of your local record stores. If you're going to Walmart, Kmart, or Target, fuck you. You don't deserve to have this album because you're shopping at a shit location. Definitely going to have to go to an FYE. Definitely going to have to go to a place that has an actual metal section for this one. Yeah, if you have to make a drive, I'm sorry, but it's going to be well worth it because, yeah, a lot of good stuff came out this week, and this is just one of them. That's right. There's more on the way.